Welcome to another episode of the Cine Men.
Did you miss us? We missed you.
I missed you, Doug.
Oh
No, I also missed us.
Oh.
We are back. We took ourselves a nice little break after that grueling 6 days we were trapped in here during the Oscar show. We had to make it up to our significant others, which is why we were away for so long.
Yeah, because we had to remind them why we were significant.
My son grew a beard. Dude. That's how long we were gone. It was weird. How are you, sir?
I'm hanging in. Things have been good and busy since we were last in the booth. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, my son is a sharer. He's not always a sharer, but this time,
he's a sharer.
He's a sharer.
Oh, okay.
Whenever he gets sick, he likes to share it with me.
Of course, he does.
My wife seems immune to
his ill ways,
to his bugs and grossness, whereas my son starts to get a runny nose and 5 seconds later I'm just in the corner shivering. I have two older brothers, and I've been told that little kids, you get around them and boost your immunity. I have two older brothers. I've been through this stuff. How am I not immune yet?
Nope, doesn't matter.
Why is it my son wants to put me in the hospital every time he gets...
Wait a minute, you have two older brothers, so they're immune to you. That's what it is. You had nobody to get immune from. That's what
We've cracked the case.
We've cracked the case. Another one open and shut, Johnson.
But other than that, things have been good. Watching a ton of movies and, otherwise keeping busy. How about you?
Anything you can announce, sir?
Anything to announce?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm already married. We only have the one kid.
Okay.
I'm not teaching this summer. What are you looking for?
I just wondered if you had anything worth throwing out there to the people, man.
Well, to the people, I will say, and this is in no way a paid ad, but our man Seed can vouch for it. My wife, she's got a sort of a side hustle with an organization called Casual Confection she created, which during our break, she officially has an LLC. Ooh. She is open for services. She's working on getting a kitchen so she can actually bake stuff to, sell to people.
Bake to order or?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Since we have a pet, she can't do that in the house.
Yeah.
But you can hire her to come to your house and bake food.
All right then.
Or bake desserts, excuse me.
Yeah.
She's strictly into the dessert thing, and you have one of her newest creations. Ooh. She was hired by my brother, quote unquote hired. By my brother. I say quote unquote because he's my brother, so is my brother.
He's still alive.
He's still alive. Mike is still with us.
He didn't hire her and then mysteriously disappear under strange circumstances.
Strangely, these were the same treats so enjoy them.
Yeah.
But my
brother tastes like.
Yeah. My brother was going to a potluck, and Crystal offered to, hey, I'll make you something.
All right. Oh, now Bill's like the rock star of the potluck.
Yeah. No. And so what she put together were these s'more sandwiches. So almost like a s'more whoopie pie. It's a graham cracker cookie, which it's two cookies, homemade marshmallow in between, and then a chocolate ganache that surrounds it. And so that's what I brought for you today, because we can't make anything at the house without bringing anything for Seed.
That's much appreciated.
So hopefully 1 out of 2 will make it home. We'll see.
This whole thing might get edited out, and Leslie's never gonna know.
Never happened.
I really think we should just open every episode with what Crystal's got going on before we get into the real news.
Yeah, but then after that, it'll just be throughout there and test because that's what y'all signed up for when you listen to Cine Men. Is to hear what we're eating.
Exactly, yeah. We just mix cinnamon ingredient in every single thing. Just a light sprinkle dusting. Yeah,
but that's basically what she's up to.
Dopeness, man. Congratulations to her, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Good peoples.
Yeah. What about you?
Nothing, man. A whole lot of nothing. Coming up May 4th, which is still a ways away, we got the live event for our...
That ain't nothing, man.
Well, it'll be more something when I got more information, because they don't even fucking know what's going on yet. For the WFAE competition, we're one of the 5 teams that are in competition to get all up in the NPR business, which is some national exposure that is much needed.
Then you'll need to change the way in which you... you'll choose your own adventure show.
Yes.
Because you have to follow their format, correct?
We have been advised that we would need to truncate somewhere between 50 and 66% of our show in order to fit the NPR time standards.
Right on, right on.
So we've retooled that into something a little bit more workable, from a 60-minute show to a 20 to 30-minute show. And then we will see how this whole business goes. More on that information when we get it. All we know right now is it's May 4th, which is also Star Wars Day, which is also Free Comic Book Day, at the NASCAR Hall of Fame around about 5 o'clock. But more information as that happens. And it's also going to be a Facebook live stream for those that can't make it. But we need butts in seats at this thing because we know the support we're going to get.
That's pretty much your mantra, though. You need them butts.
That was actually butts. The first words I spoke. Come on, say mama. Say mama. We need them butts.
Sounds legit. I've checked the internet and no lies. It's that seems accurate.
It's very accurate. It's part of my autobiography. So yeah, man. It's been a while since we did any kind of shows. What have you been watching lately?
I've with the exception of the illnesses that keep cropping up and
Trademark.
ruining my days, I've watched a ton of stuff. A ton of stuff, most of which I have put up for review on the website elementsofmadness.com, which most folks can read. I can tell you I've probably seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at least 3 or 4 more times.
Man, listen, before I came here, I was sitting on my couch, and I looked at my copy, still shrink-wrapped, and I bought it the day it came out. And I was like, my thought right before I hopped in my car, I was like, Doug would be so disappointed in me.
I am.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
You still have the opportunity.
It's my plan, since I was up at 2 o'clock this morning to go to work. As soon as I leave this place, I'm sliding between them sheets. I'm putting that joint on, and I'm just going to lay in bed and enjoy it.
And honestly, haven't finished the alternate mode. Got that started. That was like probably the 4th time I was watching it. And haven't finished it yet, but that's particularly interesting. It starts with a Spider-Ham animated thing that they put together. It's a bonus feature, or in alternate mode, it's what it begins with as the original opening. Honestly, I think it works better the way that it did theatrically. Totally understand why they cut that, but there's some really interesting stuff. You get some storyboarding. You get some of the dialogue of other scenes.
Yeah.
That film showed up. We pre-ordered it from Best Buy, and Best Buy has this tendency to get it to you early.
That's what's up.
So they want you to have it on the street date.
Yeah.
So I think the last 3 pre-orders for a film coming out on a Tuesday showed up on Saturday.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
I'm going to have to pre-order my Endgame when that joint.
Yeah. Because my son fell asleep on the way home. Crystal was going and having some fun with her family, and I had some work to do, so I came home and put in Spider-Verse while I was working. And I kept stopping to go, it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
A little bit of information for you. The animators recorded their own commentary.
Yes, they did.
And I will post that link in the show notes if I remember to.
Please remember. I need to go download that too.
I got to pull them on the phone.
But of the many films that I've seen, the ones I want to give a quick plug to, 3 of them actually are coming out on April 5th in some capacity or another.
Word.
The one that's not, that you can actually go and watch now, is a film called Triple Threat. It was it was directed by Jesse V. Johnson, and it's got Tony Jaa, it's got Tiger Chen, and
Michael J. White.
Michael J. White, absolutely. Scott Adkins, who has started to hit my radar with a few other things.
Hey, Scott Adkins coming up in the game a little bit.
Little bit. And Iko Uwais, I believe. But it's mainly Tiger Chen, Tony, and Ego. But it's not what you expect from a film titled Triple Threat, where you're expecting all these martial artists to just be going head-to-head. There's actually a little bit more of a it reminds me a little bit of the Raid 2 Barundle, in that there's actually a thoughtful story going on here.
To me, when I saw the trailer, it kind of looked, in a loose way, like a martial arts version of, a martial arts version of The Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai, or something in that vein.
I would go more The Expendables, because
yeah.
It has a story, but it's more about the fight sequences.
Of course.
The story, if you think too hard about it, it sort of falls apart. But what they do with the three main to for motivation and everything else is actually pretty interesting, the way stuff goes down. You just don't get enough of the three of them together that really sort of you feel a little shortchanged in that regard. But I do recommend it. It was a fun film.
Where is that? Where do you see that?
Right. It was in theaters one day only on March 19th, but within about a week or so, they put it on for VOD and digital. So you should be able to watch it, go home, and put that on. So definitely recommend checking that out. Another film that's going to be available for streaming is Unicorn Store, the Brie Larson
joint.
directed joint, written by Samantha McIntyre. And I've seen some folks, because of the whole Captain Marvel thing, going, oh, it's just feeding off of that buzz. No, this was actually a film that was released originally in 2017, but it just, I think, had trouble getting a distributor. I'm assuming because Sam Jackson's in it, that she had already worked with him on Kong Skull Island and that sort of. I would love to hear the story.
Yeah, they've done 3 movies now.
Yes, they have. I would love to hear the story about how Sam Jackson got associated, if it was because they worked together in Kong Skull Island, or if something else happened and they did this first and then that. I'm very interested in that.
2017 too, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. But this is coming out on Netflix. This, as of this recording, it's the 31st of March. This upcoming Friday. It's a sweet story about coming of age, but it's coming of age as sort of what you think adulthood is supposed to be.
Okay.
And so everything in the film is a little quirky because it's from the perspective of someone who, not just because she's an artist, but she has this not stunted growth, but a stunted view of what adulting is. For example, when she decides she's going to get a full-time job, she talks to her parents about, so I'm drinking coffee now, and I need highlighters, and I need pens because I'm an adult, and that's what adults use. And I need graph paper. And so it's quirky and strange, and even the adults are a little weird, but the further you go into the film and the more she realizes that things aren't one way or the other, things become a little bit more normal, which is sort of interesting, I thought. So I do recommend that.
More normal or more quote-unquote realistic?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Although it does manage the fantasy element. It is called The Unicorn Store, after all.
True.
But two other films, one of which you've probably heard of, Shazam!
Yes,
is coming out. I dug the hell out of that movie. I was lucky enough, last week, literally last week, there was an early Fandango access screening. Mm-hmm. And so Crystal and I dropped our son off with some very sketchy babysitters. Just kidding. It was my father-in-law. But still sketch. No, I'm just kidding. But love you, John. But Crystal and I went to go check it out. We had different views, she and I, on the overall approach to the story. But for me, the first act was good. The second act was better. The third one had me bouncing out of my seat. I know very little about Shazam. Mm-hmm. I haven't read any comics other than where it crossed over with Superman.
Yeah.
So I have a general sense of it. A few things from the Teen Titans and the Outsiders comics that I've read, but nothing major. And yet I loved it. I thought it was so much fun.
Did you go see it on Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
At the Mills?
No, I went to the Stonecrest screening.
Okay, I was at the Mills.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, but I had to leave early out of the movie because I had to go host trivia. So all I caught was the first 2/3 of the movie.
You should have gone to the 4 o'clock showing.
I did. Trivia starts at 6:30.
You should have moved the trivia. Sorry, no trivia. I got to go to Shazam.
If only, you had to say it like that, too. If only I had the
It has an exclamation point.
Hey,
you have to.
Wrong. You're not wrong. Although Clerks is a period, so I'm not sure what we're supposed to.
Clerks.
It's very declarative. Okay.
Clerks.
Not quite as interrogative. Well, that'd be a question mark. Or exclamatory. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree. First act, I was like, I am not really feeling this all that much. Second act, you have to, for me, I had to keep in mind that this really is just a kid in a man's body, not a full-grown adult making these decisions. And once I got that thickly into my head, and I was like, I guess I can understand the decision-making process and all that behind it. I can't speak to the whole movie because I wasn't able to watch the whole movie. But from what I've heard, the third act is good.
Oh, my God, it's so good.
I had issues. The only thing I had major issues with, which might be wrapped up, is with Mark Strong as the villain. That was a very, very huge dislike for me. But I have to see what happens in the third act to see if that changes my ideas. But from what I saw so far, I thought that was an incredibly weak antagonist. But like I said, haven't seen the ending. So I will come back to this afterwards. April, that's what it is, because you were talking about April 5th. You had something going on. I was like, something's happening April 5th. Shazam comes out on April 5th.
Yeah. Shazam, Unicorn Store, and then my third film all come out on April 5th.
Hit us with that third film.
The Public, which is the Emilio Estevez directed and written.
Oh, yes!
Yes.
Oh, I forgot all about that joint.
Yep.
You saw it, huh?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Dastardly bastard, yeah.
A little bit. Hey, if I can see films without having to go to the theater, it's a good day.
It's a good day.
It's a good day. Watch it at my leisure. And if anybody's talking during that movie, I just yell at myself. Plus, I can pause it if some shenanigans happen, and then I have to yell at myself for causing the shenanigans. It's weird when I'm kicking my own seat, but
excuse me, sir.
But no, the Public, if you're not familiar with it, the premise is essentially this. It takes place in Cincinnati. There's an Arctic front coming through, so freezing weather, and at what's referred to as the Public, it's the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. The main campus is known as the Public.
Yep.
And a group of homeless decide, we are not leaving. There are no available shelters. We're just going to occupy this space.
Yeah.
And we're going to turn this into emergency shelter. Except some people have a problem with them doing that. And so the authorities get involved, and it turns into a thing.
And Emilio Estevez works there, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's a supervisor in the social sciences department of that particular library. What I found interesting about this, and I'll get into this more with my formal review if anyone wants to read it, is it's incredibly layered.
Okay.
It's an incredibly layered film. My mom's originally from Cincinnati, so of course at some point La Rosa's Pizza shows up and I start drooling because I love La Rosa's Pizza. If I'd seen a single can of Barks Red Cream Soda crack open, I would have been pissed. But thankfully I have a couple of cans left over from my mom's last trip. But it feels very Cincinnati, and it uses the racial tension that is present in Cincinnati. I didn't realize this. There's been 11 riots in Cincinnati since the late 1700s.
Okay.
And the last one there, I believe, was 2011, if my memory is serving from my research. Because I knew that there had been one. I just couldn't remember where I was when it happened. And I feel like there was one more recently than that. Most of those riots were due to race relations. And so it's interesting the way that Estevez tells this story, that it is not overtly discussing race, but it does. That it uses what people assume about the homeless to make them seem less than. I found it to be, in thinking, after I finished it, I was like, okay, that was a film. But the more that I thought about it, and it did sort of linger with me, the more depth I found in it. So I very much do recommend, in particular, The Public.
I remember seeing a trailer. Jeez, it seems like a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a trailer a while back for this joint. And I was like, oh, that looks kind of dope. I want to check that out. And then I never heard anything about it.
I don't think I saw a trailer until the last few months, maybe. But apparently it was finished in 2018. If you look at its release date, it's 2018, so it must have hit some festivals or something. Evidently, I haven't looked too far into this, and I meant to. Evidently, when it was, I guess they did a screening of it or some release in Cincinnati, and on that day there was actually a group of activists protesting at the Public for something else entirely.
Let's see if we can siphon some of this press.
Yeah, maybe.
What about where can people find this joint?
As far as I know, it's going to be only in theaters. So I guess check your local, find out if it's going to be hitting yours or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to check this out.
For the Charlotte folks, given everything that's hitting theaters on the 5th, probably for this area, I'd say Manor or
What's that?
Ballantine.
The Regal Ballantine.
Regal
I can never
Ballantine.
remember the name of that joint. Is this with 3 screens or something small like that, or 5 screens, I think?
5 or 6, yeah.
5
it's
screens.
small.
Yes,
It's
they
small.
got
But yeah, the Ballantine
indie
Regal.
joints. Yeah. Oh, it's the Ballantine. No. Okay. Well, that's anticlimactic. Yeah. I saw a couple joints, man. Seen a couple joints. Obviously, Captain Marvel has come out.
Yep. Oh, damn, that did come out while we were on break, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Marvel's latest offering, their 22nd movie, I think is what it was. And, it does what...
21st.
21st. Okay, thank you. Oh, that's right. Endgame will be 22nd. And it does what Marvel movies do. I thought as far as the origin stories go, this is... subverts, but it doesn't quite subvert the origin stories that they've done so far. But it ranks kind of a little bit down on the list for me as far as first outings for a particular superhero. If you don't want to call it origin stories, we'll call it a first outing. Sure. It was fine. The more I think about it, I like it a little bit better, but it ranks somewhere mid to low tier as far as the overall MCU joins. I thought Brie Larson, was not my pick for Captain Marvel. I thought she did pretty damn good, though. It was nice seeing a different shade of Nick Fury, because we've just seen cynical, crusty old Nick Fury, a.k.a. Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
But it was nice seeing a little bit more jokey, hopeful, optimistic Nick Fury. Not nearly enough Coulson in this movie.
Yep.
Unfortunately. That CGI, or that defacing, de-aging technology is alarmingly good.
Yes.
And it started getting real good real quick, because I thought they had topped out at Kurt Russell at the beginning of Guardians 2, and this is even better than that. Yeah. Now it just remains to see what Scorsese does with it with The Irishman. I think still the breakaway out of that is not Goose. It is Ben Mendelsohn. Subverting all the expectations of him, and with the Pulp Fiction reference.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until after the fact. It was so brilliant.
Like he sipped the milkshake, and like an alarm bell went off in my head, and I was just like, "Why would that?" And I just kind of pushed it to the back and ignored it. And then maybe like 2 days later, I was like, "Oh, that's what they were going for there with the Pulp Fiction." What were your thoughts on Captain Marvel?
I sort of agree with you, at least with the film. I had no expectations for the character due to my own experience with it, which is very limited. And I do like Brie Larson.
So you had limited experience with Captain Marvel or Captain Marvel, is what you're saying?
Well, it depends on which film you're talking about.
Okay.
I see what you did. I see what you're trying to do. Shazam. No. But with both of them, I agree with you. I loved how they subverted sort of the origin aspect. It made it it reminded me of a Douglas Adams story when she's getting interrogated and they're playing with everything and they're going forward and they're going backward, and it's sort of goofy and sort of silly. It reminded me of a sequence, if you will, and I think it was Hitchhiker's Guide, where they're all getting attacked and all of a sudden the shooting stops and everybody just waits for the shooting to start again, and it doesn't. And they look up, and it's because Marvin went over, plugged himself into the other ship's control mechanism, made it depressed, and it committed suicide, so all of the shooting stopped because they had no life support. And that's kind of the sort of silly, irreverent style that I felt like this version of the Skrulls brought in to some of this. I loved how they took our expectations of people that are familiar with the Skrulls expected and flipped it. Yeah, they did. Which we should have expected, because the Kree have always been assholes. They have always been assholes as far as the MCU is concerned. Even in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Kree are some bastards. So
I mean, to be fair, our only other run-in from the movies with Kree is a religious fanatic.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's it.
Who is currently one of the accusers in Captain Marvel, who is working with Star Force to feel like Deadpool, Star Force, who is leading this incursion because of their mission to destroy the Skrulls, because they won't join with super intelligence, but supreme intelligence, excuse me. But I do agree with you. Second viewing made it a lot better. I actually I got invited to go check out the 40X. That's over at Stonecrest. It's the first 40X system in North Carolina. If you've never experienced 40X, I say go when you've seen the film already, or if you don't care about missing dialogue, because it turns the whole thing into a roller coaster. It is a ton of fun.
Brian Martin of Choose Our Own Adventure saw us in the 4DX.
Did what now?
Yeah. He said he saw us, and he was like, it was basically like Lupito just walked out of the screen and sat beside me and slapped me in the face. And I was like, sold. Okay. Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I haven't seen Us yet, but everything I've been hearing about that film, you either love it or hate it. And everything I can tell is if you hate it, it's because you didn't understand it. You didn't pick up what Peele was doing. and that's more of why you didn't. But I can't imagine seeing that in 40X the first time.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the and Us is another movie I saw. I'm not a big subscriber of the you just don't understand what's going on here.
Oh, really?
Some people I very much assume did not get all the subtext that's going on there, and then some people probably might have just not liked the movie, no matter what the subtext, which is just fine. But just immediately going for the you didn't understand what was going on, or you didn't catch all the subtext, or the subtlety of this movie. That shut up, all right? So you don't assume what someone did or didn't, unless they can just prove that they are.
I will assume anything I want to and be wrong. Thank you very much. But in this instance,
be wrong in my wrongness.
But in this instance, what to better clarify, because I agree with you, it's not a good idea to assume.
No.
A lot of the complaints I've heard from people that didn't get it, and again, I need to see the film, but because I'm a chicken, I'm going to be waiting till I can watch it in my home.
It's not as scary as you think it is.
But I've been reading a lot of stuff on it, and the things that people have mentioned as, say, plot holes or things that just don't make sense, on the other side of it, when you look at it from a different perspective, they're not holes. They're actually not holes. So in this instance, it's not me making an assumption. It's people are citing specific things, and then from this other perspective going, okay, so maybe they just didn't catch this or think about it in that way.
What are you doing all this research and you ain't seen the movie?
How else do you think I can handle horror films that I think are going to terrify me?
Oh, Doug. You're an interesting person, sir.
Well, I come at it from an academic perspective. So it's okay if I don't get scared. It's not that didn't come out right. It's that, let's put it this way. Do you see Hereditary?
I did not.
You did not. There's a moment in that film that if I had watched it happen, not knowing that it was going to happen, I would have lost my mind, which is part of the point.
Yeah.
Except that I would need to be able to watch the rest of the movie, and there's no way I would have been able to.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's some films where I can know what's going on in it. Heck, I can even know how a film ends, more or less. But if the film does its job, it won't matter for me.
Okay.
I've always been that way.
Right on. This idea of we're bringing horror back. This person who doesn't even like horror. That's some bullshit. I mean, horror's been around for quite some time. I think a better phrase is horror's getting sexy again. Horror it's moving away from just jump scares, and it's going more towards building tension and drama and dread. I think that's what horror is leading. Which jump scare, you're like and then 10 seconds later you're over it and the movie's still going on. Where building dread and tension, that shit sits with you when you walk out of the theater. That's what I think horror is getting towards now. And now I'm interested because I don't like horror because I don't like jump scares, but it does a good job building tension and dread. Us did. Get Out did. From what I heard, Hereditary also does.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Build that stuff until I'm just like, the Scream Bear scene in Annihilation. That's what I want. A whole movie of that.
Strangely, that movie did not terrify me or upset me at all.
That scene did. That
not
scene
even a
that
little.
was just
Nope, it did not. You maybe.
You're a braver man than I am, sir.
Only in this one instance. Only in this one instance. Although, oddly, with Hereditary, the reason why that movie didn't scare me, I knew about this one scene that I'm leaving vague. If you've seen it, you know, because it's messed up. But I suffer. I have a condition that a lot of the stuff that happens in this, I think it's pronounced hypogogia, hypogogia, but where if I wake up suddenly from a dream, from sleep, my brain still thinks it's asleep, so I'll see things. And there's a lot of that in Hereditary. And if I wasn't aware that I already see things, I would have been like, what the hell's going on over there?
Okay.
But now that I'm aware of the name and what's going on, I can look at a movie and go, oh, they're trying to fuck with me with this and that. And that's what that. Oh, okay, I'm cool. But I also agree with you, although albeit differently, when it comes to horror, and I'm not a big horror person, though in the last few years I watched a lot more of it. I've sought out a lot more of it. In fact, a good portion of the films that I've loved this year would fall underneath the horror name, even though you might not name it horror. And that's the thing, is there are plenty of films that are out there that horror can go across. It can be in a drama. It can be in a period piece. It can be in an action film. It can be in sci-fi. It can be in really whatever it needs to be. And in fact, it's more frustrating that people want to classify something as that's not horror, it's a thriller. That's not horror, it's it's a drama. It's elevated horror. No, F you, it's horror.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just there's certain stories that are hitting bigger audiences now.
Word.
And I think that's where people immediately want to try and assimilate it into what's acceptable. I mean, shit. Was it the Exorcist? That's a horror movie, but it was played straight.
Yeah,
it's played straight so that it went to the Oscars. You know, yeah. Horror movies don't tend to do that, and it's because most folks tend to look down on them.
Shout out to,
but we shouldn't be.
Yeah. One last joint that I saw. I watched it this morning, man. I watched The Highwayman, the Netflix joint. Man.
How was that?
I think it's much better than people gave it credit for, man. I did a little bit of research online. Most people put it in as like the mixed, like 2.5 out of 5, maybe a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed this movie, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought Kevin Costner gave a solid Kevin Costner performance. For me, Woody Harrelson is what carried that entire movie. Woody Harrelson is... People talk about like the reconnaissance and how he whatever. I think Woody Harrelson has just been quietly dope for like the last 7-8 years now. He's been putting in some mean works. And I think he shines best as a supporting actor, which is what he is in this movie. Like, he knows his role and his niche, and he has stayed there. And pretty much like Woody Harrelson headlining, I mean, Kingpin is okay. It's not great. But when he's Haymitch in Hunger Games, dopeness. When he was in the first movie you suggested to me for Cine Men, he pops up in there a little bit when he's the bartender.
Oh,
Bunraku. Dope.
Yep.
He pops in, says dope shit, gets out. In this one, he is solidly dope all the way throughout. It looks beautiful. That is a well-shot movie. And I think because it's the story of the two guys who take down Bonnie and Clyde, and since the focus is on them, you see Bonnie and Clyde a lot, but you don't actually see Bonnie and Clyde. When you see them, the camera's either a million feet away, so you can tell it's them, but you actually cannot distinguish their features. Or you see them from behind, or you see their feet, but you don't see their face until the very end of the movie.
Interesting.
Which I think is a good stylistic choice because the movie's not about them. It's about Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson. And the scene where they finally catch up with him and do their business, shot at the exact same place it actually happened at, which is pretty interesting. Talking about trying to get your shit accurate.
Yeah.
Good movie, man. It's right over 2 hours. If you got 2 hours, you sit down and check out The Highwayman. It's 1937, so it's past the Western, but they still kind of play it as a Western-ish. It's got all the Western tropes, the big open, scenes where you can see the cars go by. There, might as well be guys on horses or the case. It's kind of filmed as a Western, at least it was to me.
Cool.
I really enjoyed that movie.
Right on.
Boom. Man, I'm so out of practice. What do we do next? Are we talking about Cine Men Challenge?
A Cine Men Challenge.
Would you like to go first, sir? Or?
Sure. You gave me High Flying Birds, which was the Steven Soderbergh movie that debuted on Netflix.
Shot on one of these bad boys.
What's that?
Shot on one of these.
Oh, he's waving his
iPhone.
We'll call it iPhone. Call it iPhone. I won't tell you what he was actually waving at me. It's inappropriate, sir, particularly with all these windows. Me too. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. That's actually something not to joke about. Seriously, not to joke about. But shot on an iPhone. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
It looks good. It is well acted. I had a problem with it that is not technical, but personal.
Were you one of the NBA players who got fucked in a lockout?
No, my problem is I know so little about basketball that there was some significance to what was going on that was lost on me. I could understand, for example, there's a way of listening that I talk about in one of the chapters we discuss in my day job called, when we discuss listening, there's something called empathic listening, where you're listening for the emotionality, and so that you know how to appropriately respond. If someone's telling you something that sounds serious, then you should be serious in your responses and what have you. So there was a lot of stuff that they'd be talking about where I was listening for the emotion because I didn't understand a fucking thing that they were saying. And so I could understand the dynamics. I could understand, we'll call it the slickness of what's going on in the background of a lot of what's happening that we as an audience may not be aware is happening as it's happening. But one thing I'll give him is Andre Holland, who's leading this thing, is Ray, who is a sports manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's got a client who doesn't seem to be quite so bright. He seems to be more interested in the fame than he does interested in the game. The whole movie begins with Ray giving him a dressing down because he took out money from a loan shark and is in trouble. Whereas Ray himself, he seems to be very interested in preserving the game.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion that's going on in the film. Bill Duke gets used a lot. Bill Duke is amazing. And I'm wondering if something's going on with him because he was also in Mandy, and he looks tiny in this film. Bill Duke does as Spence, the coach of the local,
like the local AAU teams.
Okay,
yeah.
So he looked tiny, but there was a lot of what it was a little bit subtext and a little bit very much part of the narrative about basketball as something that belonged to the black community that was sort of taken over by the white community and then turned into a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of that going on that from a racial standpoint I could understand. And I understood why they were doing that. But a lot of the actual stuff with the basketball players and everything else, there was some significance that was lost on me.
Okay.
But overall, I found it to be a film I would recommend to people. It's the cast is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's incredibly well acted. Zazie Beetz is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I saw Slice, and I mean that movie is just sort of take it with a grain of salt, sort of stupid fun.
Yeah.
And she's great in that too. So at this point, and I've only seen 2 episodes of Atlanta, if Zazie Beetz is in some, I'm instantly curious about it now.
She's, to me, the best part of Deadpool, too.
Yes. Yes, she is. Effortlessly so.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend High Flying Bird. The only issue I had with it is the fact that because I had so little knowledge about the sport, that because of that world, it was harder for me to really understand the relationships, who's talking to who, what's the relationship to each other. Because you got a manager and a lawyer, and you've got, I guess, the owner of a firm, and I didn't know who the people were, so it was harder for me to understand what Ray was doing as he's, keeping it as spoiler-free as I can, doing what he's doing. But to me, this felt sort of like a basketball version of a Logan Lucky or an Ocean's 11, except in this case, you didn't realize there was a hustle, there was a heist going on while you're watching it.
Yeah, Ray's out there shaking and moving.
Oh, yeah, no, that was great, and Holland absolutely sells that in a wonderful way. I loved it.
Ever since I saw him in Moonlight, I was like, yo, who is this dude?
And apparently the person that co-wrote the script for this, or wrote the script for this, co-wrote or did the story for Moonlight.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Yeah. He pops up. Andre Holland is the star of...
He is in Moonlight. That's right.
He's the older version of the more light-skinned kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's working as a short order cook.
Yeah. Such a sweet story.
Moonlight, and it's beautiful. Man, I love Moonlight. Mm-hmm. And then he's the star of Castle Rock, and I was like, ooh, I get a whole bunch of Andre Holland, just 2 hours of him, and he's amazing in that. And after that, I was like, all right, I am now officially on the Andre. I tweeted out months ago that he will win a Best Supporting, if not Best Actor Oscar at some point. And then I heard about this, and I was like, well, sold. And it's about the game of basketball, which I love.
Yeah.
And all the pieces fell in there for me. You give one of my favorite sports with one of my new favorite actors. And Bill Duke. I love God and all his black people. You, sir, gave me The Edge of 17.
Yes, it did.
Which I was well aware of when it first dropped. And I was like, I get around to that when I get around to it. And I am so upset it took me this long to get to it, man. That movie is amazing. Directed by Kelly Fremon Craig, who I went and looked at her filmography, man. She did some uncredited writing on Bumblebee. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you know that?
No.
Yeah, and which Haley
Still
Steinfeld,
haven't seen that.
Yeah, neither have I. Which Haley Steinfeld is a star.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, they have a nice little working relationship going on here, man. Yeah, this the story of what it's like being, high school 17, the one ride or die friend that she's had, pretty much throughout her life, kind of upsets the apple cart a little bit by dating her brother, and things kind of spiral a little bit out of control as she kind of, would you say, endeavors to find herself throughout this movie?
A little bit.
A little bit. More Woody Harrelson.
Love him in this.
I love him. Woody Harrelson in this movie is what I aspire to be in real life.
As a teacher, I agree completely.
Yeah, he's
I'm sorry, this is my lunch break. Could you please go murder yourself somewhere over there?
That was a sweet little relationship the two of those had. It's just hard to say, so I'm just going to say it. Get out of my car. It was refreshing seeing, I tweeted it out, I think, or I posted on Facebook, which one. It was refreshing seeing a dude bro type person in a movie not be a dude bro. Like, they kind of set him up, her older brother, as being a dude bro who's Mr. Perfect and got all the muscles and whatnot. Very frat boyish, who is essentially just a good kid who wants to help take care of mom and the family. I really like that little subvert. I was like, oh, we got the dude bro in the movie. It's sweet. It is hilarious, belly laughing in some points. Haley Steinfeld shines in this movie. I don't think I'd seen her since True Grit, maybe?
Really?
Yeah, I can't think of anything between True Grit and now that I've seen. And, of course, she voices Gwen Stacy. But, yeah, I hadn't seen her live in anything in quite some time. I was just like, oh, she's in Bumblebee. Haley Steinfeld grew up. I got old. Yeah, and she is excellent in this movie. I think her and Woody have the most meat to work with, I think, and they're the two best things. I fucking love this movie.
Awesome.
It is awesome, sir.
And for those of you that haven't seen it, if you decide to go check it out, and those of you that have, Blake Jenner is who he was talking about as the older brother, the sort of dude bro. But Blake Jenner, apparently he was also in Glee in some of the later seasons.
Oh, okay.
But he did American Animals, which came out last year.
And I saw him somewhere.
Yep, and he has a great monologue. His character is
was he the rich boy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He was the I think he was crew or something. He was an athlete, but
yeah, they was the kayakers or something.
Something. It's been a while, so I can't remember. But he has a great monologue in that, which is he delivers so well. Yeah. And he was also the lead in Everybody Wants Some, the Richard Linklater movie. That was the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
And after seeing Everybody Wants Some and then The Edge of 17, Blake Jenner is now an actor. Oh, he's a part of that? Let's check this thing out. Yeah. Haley Lou Richardson plays the best friend in this. She was in Support the Girls, which came out. I still haven't seen that. She was in Columbus with John Cho that came out also, I think, in 2017. Highly recommend that film, which is finally getting a home release now. She's fantastic in that as well. It's got a great cast.
Keira Sedgwick as the mom. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You ready to get into these top threes?
Yeah, because we ain't got much time.
Yeah, we ain't got about 15 minutes.
This is how this works for us, though. Welcome back to the Cine Men. We've got our main topic for the day. Let's do it in 5 seconds.
So, this is your choice, sir. What was our top three for the episode?
Well, what we had discussed is doing. We are now, by the time y'all hear this, it's going to be 3 months into 2019. So we wanted to, if you haven't seen them, if you have, just show them a little bit extra love. But what our favorite films, if you will, so far going into the year were. At this point, apparently, I've seen about 81 films, including rewatches. Ooh. So that's like 4 Spider-Verses and at least 1 Aquaman, because that just came out and had to show that to my wife after we watched Shazam.
Word.
But, sorry, that's right. I did miss Shazam.
There we go.
Got to do that right. But out of those 81 films, 14 have ended up on my best of list. And 2 that I want to give shouts out to before we get into the top 3 are Starfish by A.T. White. It's doing a theatrical roadshow if you get the chance. They describe it as cosmic horror. Okay. It is a story involving grief. It is beautiful, and it is a little weird, and it's lovely. Please go check that out. Okay. Also, Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror by Xavier Bergen, which is available on Shudder. I've talked about it on the podcast before. It's based off of the novel Horror Noir, Blacks in American Horror Films from the 1890s to present by Robin Means Coleman. Make sure you check that out if you have access to Shudder. And if you don't have access to Shudder, get the free trial for at least 7 days and then go check that out.
Word. What's your number 3, sir?
Number 3, Swing Kids.
Swing Kids, okay.
Swing Kids. Talked about this film before. It's directed by Kang Hyung Chul. Mm-hmm. It is actually available on home video starting on the 25th of June.
Okay.
25th of June. So unfortunately, it came out in the States around December, a little bit in January, and you have to wait a couple more months till you can check this thing out. But it is a drama that takes place during the Korean War at a prison camp that is a comedic musical.
Sold.
It has some amazing dancing. It's funny and it's charming and it's sweet, and the ending is absolutely devastating.
Boom.
And all the ways that make an evocative film. Now, because it jumps between sort of genres, it feels sort of like the Stephen Chow Kung Fu Hustle-esque exaggerations at times. But I think it works for it in really conveying the emotionality of what these characters are going through. But it can be, through the emotion jumping, a little jarring. I may not feel like it meshes, but given the context of being the Korean War and wartime, I think it works quite well. Okay. What about you? What's your number 3?
My number 3 we just talked about. It is Captain Marvel. We've already talked about it.
Oh, okay. And that was it.
And that was it.
Okay. My number 2, I cannot talk about this movie enough. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This one.
The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot.
You almost have to say it like that.
Yeah.
This one was written and directed by Robert Krezikowski. Apparently, just at the Alamo Drafthouse yesterday, there was not only a screening there, but the director was there.
Which one?
In Raleigh, Alamo Drafthouse in Raleigh. But it's already available on digital now. Highly recommend it. It's about $15. Blu-ray DVD, April 2nd.
Boom.
April 2nd.
So,
can't recommend this film enough. It is exactly what you expect from the title, but it is also not what you expect from the title. It is a film about the man who killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot, but it's not about killing Hitler or the Bigfoot. It's about the man himself. And it takes place as a young man when one act happens and as an old man with him dealing with that. So it's actually more of a character study about a man who has done terrible things for his country, and he has to live with it.
Okay. All right, then. Unfortunately, my numbers.
Why are you saying that, unfortunately?
I just realized that all 3 are, from my list, kind of anticlimactic. My number 2 is Us, which we already talked about as far as we can. But
why is it your number 2?
It's a weird movie for me because there are holes that I see in that movie, and I guess maybe I would take a second rewatch just to make sure that all those holes weren't filled up and I missed something. But there's a couple, 1 or 2 things that are kind of glaring that I'm like, wait, this right here doesn't make any sense. Even with those holes, I still love the F out of this movie. Jordan Peele balance. I mean, we know his comedic background, his chops. He used half of Key and Peele and that horrible Keanu movie.
Hey,
that
movie is charming as hell.
Not great.
You don't like George Michael? George Michael's badass.
I mean, I'm not sure how you just equate
Keanu
to George Michael.
Clearly, you don't remember the movie.
More than just George Michael in that movie. But yeah, he knows how to strike suspense and dread and horror and balance them out perfectly, and just little weird things right in the smack middle when things should be serious, and you're just like, and there's a little nugget of a joke, and and it releases the tension, resets you back to 0, and then he builds right back up again. Performances. This is a Lupita Nyong'o movie.
That's what I've
Make
heard.
no mistakes about that. Winston Duke, he's good. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time to shine, and the kids don't really get a whole lot of screen time to shine because the focus is on Adelaide, her character. Unfortunately, we don't get a whole lot of Elizabeth Moss, who I'm really getting on the Elizabeth Moss hype train now. I love Handmaid's Tale. Halfway because of her performance, and B, just because that is a beautifully shot TV show. That might be the most beautiful TV show on TV in all services right now.
Right on.
And yeah, it's the story is. I think the story is the weakest element of the movie, but it hinges heavily on performances. It is more of an actor's movie than anything else, and I think what they do with it on both sides, with the family that's there and then the family that comes from the underground, it is an actor's movie. Right. I dug it. I'm going to see it at least 1 more time, if not 2 more times, before it leaves theaters.
Yeah, from what I understand, even more so than Get Out, which has You see it the first time because you go with certain expectations for Get Out, and then you get to the ending and you see how it plays. You almost need to watch it again just to see all the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And there's some deep nugget stuff in Get Out as well, but with Us, from what I understand, you really get a deeper sense of actually what's happening. This is a film more so than Get Out that requires multiple viewings to really pick it up.
Right. I'm with it. And your number one, sir?
My number one is Who Will Write Our History by Roberta Grossman, which is based on Samuel... I can't read my handwriting. Cassell's book.
I know I can't.
Yeah, sorry. But there's actually a couple of upcoming screenings that are going on over the next couple of months for various states. But Who Will Write Our History is a documentary that is told through three ways. Mm-hmm. It's a documentary that is about the German occupation of Poland.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place during the Warsaw Ghetto, or in the Warsaw Ghetto, and leads up to the Warsaw Ghetto uprising that took place. And what it's telling the story of is that a historian realized slowly what was happening from the German soldiers is that they weren't just being occupied, they were being reduced. Just in terms of their culture, their not just their who was there, not just their size, but as a community, as a culture. So they realized that they needed to start taking a record of their everyday lives. What is it that you are doing? What is it that you're celebrating? What is it that you're mourning? We're going to gather up notes of these things, and we're going to put them together in various collections. They called it the Oneg Shabbat. Just to sort of hide it in plain sight. This way, if they were talking about it, it terms the joy of the Sabbath. And that's something that Jews would be talking about anyway, but in this specific instance, it was about collecting things. So there was about 50, I think, total people at one time that knew that this was going on and would sort of grab things, but there was only 2 people that actually knew where the stashes were kept. And one is actually currently believed, I think they found 2, and one of them is still hidden, and it's believed to be under where the Chinese embassy is. So obviously they can't get to it. But they did it by way of voiceovers from actors. They had actors doing sort of dramatizations, and then they had actual letters that they were reading from. So the actors were reading the letters, but then you had the historians, the historian that this documentary was based on, and a few others sort of providing social context and commentary on what was actually happening. So through the voice work, the dramatizations, and the interviewers, you have this sort of full picture about what was happening. And as you're watching real footage of people dying on the streets and people walking over them, because you get into this ethical dilemma of, I want to help others, but I need to keep myself alive. And it becomes for me personally, being Jewish, it was deeply affecting. Deeply affecting.
Word. I see. That would be your number one, sir.
Yeah.
My number one is yet another movie we've discussed.
Shazam! No.
It's High Flying Bird.
Oh, right.
I have seen it 3 times now.
Really?
Yes. There is nothing about this movie I do not like. I disagree with your take that the athlete was just in it for the money. He says multiple times that I am built and bred for this game. He loves the game of basketball. He's just naive in how to navigate everything that comes with being an athlete. But I make no mistakes that his number one thing is playing ball. Street ball is what he knew coming up. And it takes from street ballers to get into organized professional basketball, they have the hardest transition. Whereas other people who came up through the ranks a lot start out in street ball, then they get into high school ball, then they get into college ball, and then they go professional. They know that they'll run the plays. This is what's going on at all times. Be aware of some street ballers just stay street ballers. Even a couple of them sneak into the NBA from time to time, and I feel like that he would have been one of those that sneaks into the NBA. He probably came up through the same ranks too, but always kept the street ball mentality and never got the organized ball mentality, which is why I think he kind of has that beef with the other player that was drafted at the same time as him.
And with Ray.
He was very hood mentality, and he was still young. He hadn't learned to elevate his thinking to be able to navigate through the league and having all the money and whatnot. The hustle that Ray is doing is amazing throughout this movie. He said it. He's there to bust the game wide open. He's going to pull up a chair. And everybody gets what they want, or is very close to getting what they want by the end of this movie. Things are back on track the way they should be. Zazie Beetz is in a better spot, taking over the job of the woman whose name I can never remember from The Wire, from the first season of The Wire.
Sonia's son?
Yes, her. Yes.
I got introduced to her through Burn Notice.
The Wire for me. She and Ray had that conversation of what she wanted out of life, and then you find out towards the end of the movie that she pretty much got that. Ray is on the precipice of elevating his status within the entire organization. It works out for pretty much everybody, and it works out for your players because things are where they should be. I think though a part of the genius in that movie is what Ray does with the pickup game. He stopped it exactly where it needed to be stopped to build the hype. And also, the way Soderbergh plays it was ambiguous of you don't know who between the two of them won that game. There's a little hint drop that our guy might have been the one, but if it had gone on a little bit longer, he would have lost that game. And that's why Ray stops it right where it does. He says it's to build up hype, but it was also because this dude wasn't going to win. I think he had the slight advantage at that point. So it's all those kinds of stuff. It's slickly shot. I mean, you can't really tell a shot on it. Could you tell a shot on that film? Yeah. I think these things are getting scary. It looks good. I think Ray's opening monologue, pretty much addressing that dude down, is the dialogue is snappy, man. The dialogue is on point. It's some of the best writing I've seen in movies in quite some time for me. And it is basically a love letter to the game of basketball, as well as the frustration that Ray has that the game isn't being played. Is also the frustration that we as fans have when lockouts happen in any sport. Like, I want to see my sport. This is my season. I prep myself for this. I can't see my sport. Yeah. It's frustrating. Yeah. And it's a lot of slick back talking and hustling and shady alley deals or sauna deals in some cases. And it's very, very well done. Very well done. I almost guarantee that by the end of the year, it's going to be somewhere in the top 5.
Right on.
Boom. With 3 minutes left, do you have anything else, man?
Nothing.
How do we wrap these bad boys up?
Usually by saying goodbye.
Oh.
Bye. No. We pull a Powers booth. Well,
bye.
No, is there anything coming up? We've got, you said May 4th. If you're local to Charlotte, or if you're listening and need an excuse to come to Charlotte, May 4th, we've got to show some support to Seed. If you can't show up for the NASCAR Hall of Fame show, said that there's going to be a live stream. It's going through Facebook.
Yeah, they said there'll be a Facebook live feed.
Awesome. So someone in the Paprika High Command, High Council is going to make sure that that's available in the Paprika group. So if you're not already part of that group, join on up for that.
Yeah, so it'll also be on the Twitter as well.
Awesome. If you want to... I've got my usual reviews coming up. The Public's going to be coming up later this week. Unicorn Storm's coming up later this week. I'm apparently going to check out The Best of Enemies.
Okay.
So I'll have a review of that.
Couldn't get my screen tickets in time.
I got invited.
Okay.
No.
Nice.
No. Not personally. I have a friend who invited me. So I'm going to just sneak in with him.
My email effed me on that one, man.
Oh,
because
man.
It popped up at let's say 5:30. And then I saw the time it hit my inbox was like 4:45, and I was like, why is this not hit my inbox for? They screwed me on that one, man.
Yeah, and I totally feel that. Unfortunately for me, April, for the day job, I'm about to hit another set of speeches. They actually start on Tuesday, so I've got to get those graded. Crystal's got her birthday coming up. Happy early birthday, Crystal.
Those going to bake something for you?
Nope. I want her to have a good birthday.
Okay.
I used to bake, and then I got together with her, and she does it better than I do. So you're going to do it better. You do you.
Yeah. All right,
and I get to eat. There you go. It all works out. So I'm not going to be doing too much writing and reviewing for the first half, but we got Endgame coming up. And from what I understand, tickets are going on sale this Tuesday.
Oh, and then poor Hellboy in between.
Yep.
And on that note,
well, bye. No, I'm actually looking forward to Hellboy. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's going to be different because it is not Ron Perlman. It feels weird looking at Hellboy and not getting that voice.
Yeah.
But it could be fun.
I'm hoping to get a screening of that, and we'll see what's talking about. Paprika comes back in mass. It's the first season. We will have 3 hosts doing Paprika coming up.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Yeah, May 1st is going to be our return date, so hopefully things work out for the best.
Right on, and hopefully we'll get another one of these in before then.
Yeah, all right. Until then, you guys take it easy.
Well, bye.